Hello, grade 7. Today our lesson is about the passive. The lesson is divided into 5 subtitles. 1. Active sentences and passive sentences. 2. Form of the passive. 3. Transitive and intransitive verbs. 4. Using the by phrase. And 5. Passive modal auxiliaries. Starting with subtitle 1. Active sentences and passive sentences. Example of an active sentence. The mouse ate the cheese. And the passive, the cheese was eaten by the mouse. Now what is the rule behind it? The object in an active sentence becomes the subject in a passive sentence. And the subject in an active sentence is the object of by in a passive sentence. Let's look at a new example. Active sentence. Bob mailed the package. We have Bob the subject and the package is the object of the sentence. In the passive, the package was mailed by Bob. So what we notice over here, that the subject Bob in the passive becomes the object of by, and the object of the active sentence, the package, becomes the subject of the passive sentence. So the package was mailed by Bob. Subtitle 2. Form of the passive. Now the form of the passive verbs is the verb be plus past participle. Pay attention. Be can be in any of its forms. Am, is, are, was, were, has been, have been, will be, etc. Example: corn is grown by farmers. The verb be is and the past participle of grow, grown. Sarah was surprised by the news. The verb be in the past was plus the past participle of surprise. The report will be written by Mary. Will be and the past participle of write, written. Now, how can I know the form of the verb in the passive sentences? We need to look at the form of the verb in the active sentence to know how it will be in the passive sentence. Let's look at these examples. Farmers grow corn. We notice that grow is in the simple present. In the passive form, corn is grown by farmers. So the verb be will be in the simple present plus the past participle of the verb grow. The news surprised Sarah. Surprised in the simple past. In the passive, Sarah was surprised by the news. So we have the verb be in the simple past plus surprised, the past participle of the verb surprise. Diana is copying the letters. Is copying present progressive. In the passive form, the letters are being copied by Diana. So the verb be is in its progressive form, being. And pay attention, guys, over here. The letters, which was the object in the active sentence, and now the subject in the passive sentence, it is in the plural form, so the verb are or the verb be should be in its plural form. Diana was copying the letters, was copying past progressive. The letters were being copied by Diana. Jack has mailed the letter, has made present perfect. In the passive form, the letter has been mailed by Jack. Mr. Lee will plan the meeting, will plan in the future. The meeting will be planned by Mr. Lee. And Sue is going to write the report. The other form of the future is going to write. In the passive form, the report is going to be written by Sue. So pay attention, guys. We always need to use the be plus the past participle in the passive form. Moving to subtitle 3, transitive and intransitive verbs. What is a transitive verb? A transitive verb is a verb that is followed by an object. An object is a noun or pronoun. Example, Bob mailed the letter. We have Bob the subject, the verb is mailed. Mailed what? The letter. It's the object of the sentence. Another example, a cat killed the bird. The verb is killed. Killed what? The bird. The bird works or functions as the object of the sentence. Now, what is an intransitive verb? An intransitive verb is a verb that is not followed by an object. Example, something happened. We don't need an object after the verb happened. Kate came to our house. And pay attention over here. To our house is a prepositional phrase. The bird died. So what we notice is that these verbs happen, came, and die do not have an object. So, pay attention. Only transitive verbs can be used in the passive. Example, active sentence, Bob mailed the letter. The passive form is the letter was mailed by Bob. And again, I need to move or to change the object of the active sentence into the subject of the passive sentence, and the subject of the active sentence, Bob, now is the object of the passive sentence or object of by in the passive sentence. However, an intransitive verb is not used in the passive. Example of an active sentence, something happened. Not possible in the passive, and it's incorrect to say something was happened. Always remember, guys, that we need an object in the active sentence in order to make it the subject of the passive sentence. So since the intransitive verb does not have an object, so it is not used in the passive. Subtitle 4, using the by phrase. The by phrase is used in passive sentences when it is important to know who performs an action. Example, this sweater was made by my aunt. By my aunt is important information. However, usually there is no by phrase in a passive sentence. The passive is used when it is not known or not important to know exactly who performs an action. An example, my sweater was made in Korea. So guys, over here the exact person or people who made the sweater is not known and is not important to know. So there is no by phrase in the passive sentence. Another example, Spanish is spoken in Colombia. Rice is grown in many countries. Usually the active is used when the speaker knows who performed the action. Example, my aunt made this sweater. The focus of attention is on my aunt. The last subtitle, passive modal auxiliaries. Modal auxiliaries are often used in the passive. Active modal auxiliaries and passive modal auxiliaries, how do I form them? We have the modal plus the verb be plus the past participle. Example, Bob will mail it. It will be mailed by Bob. Will is the auxiliary, the modal auxiliary, plus the verb be plus the past participle mailed. Bob can mail it. It can be mailed by Bob. Bob should mail it. It should be mailed by Bob. Bob ought to mail it or oughta mail it. It ought to be mailed by Bob. Bob must mail it. It must be mailed by Bob. Bob has to mail it. It has to be mailed by Bob. Bob may mail it. It may be mailed by Bob. Bob might mail it. It might be mailed by Bob. Bob could mail it. It could be mailed by Bob. Thank you for listening, grade 7.